is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade basketball analysis coming to y'all with a quick video. I wanted to let you guys know I got some new merchandise available, not just t-shirt anymore. I got different type of t-shirt, different type of shirts and logos that you can purchase on my spread shirt, and also hoodies now. We have expanded and added more to the channel and more merchandise for the brand. Thanks for supporting. It will be in the description and the links will be in the comment section below. Thanks for helping me and supporting the movement. Quinn Wade basketball analysis. I'm going. What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade basketball analysis coming to y'all with that analysis on another potential top 25 pick in Aleksej, and he's an interesting prospect because he is overseas, so a lot of people didn't really get a chance to see him play, and if they did, they didn't really get a chance to see him play enough to get a good, thought on how he can translate to the NBA, if he can translate to the NBA, and what his role will be in the NBA. And even though we didn't see a huge amount of him, he's an interesting prospect just because he has the size. He's very long with the wingspan. He has some good mobility and length. And those are things you cannot teach, especially when you're a guy that can get up and down the court and really be able to cover a lot of ground because of your length and your size and how tall you are. But not only that, you're very mobile. And the fact that he does have a soft touch is always good for a center, just because you want them to be able to be potential great free throw shooters if you do draft them, because a lot of guys that never shoot free throws will never become great free throw shooters, mostly at that center position that he plays. You can say he played more like a 4 at the NBA level because of his mobility and the fact that he's not the strongest guy, doesn't have the much weight and muscle on him at this point of his career, and he's more of a finesse player, but he also don't have any post moves, so you really don't want him close to the basket unless he's hitting a mid-range jumper, because he really doesn't have any post moves. He's not strong enough to guard most centers or even score and get a good opportunity against them on both ends of the court. He doesn't have that ability, and his bigger strength is being able to stretch out the floor with his three-point shooting and his capable mid-range shooting. Even though he is a little streaky, he has shown the ability to knock down those shots from those areas on the court. So you would think that if he does become a decent player, that will be his strong suit, and that will be something that he will have to polish up and master and become elite at if he really wants to eat and become part of the NBA. Because when I look at Aleksej, he doesn't have the physicality. He doesn't have the consistent jumper. He's not a great rebounder, not the greatest shot blocker, a passer with potential. But this is a guy that you're drafting just for upside, just because you see what his body is and you see how quick he is for his size, and you see the fact that he can handle the ball a little bit for a 7-footer, and he can also score off the bounce from time to time as a 7-footer, and you cannot usually find those, and that's why we call them unicorns, because they shouldn't exist, and most of the time they don't. And he has some skill sets and some abilities that most centers just can't do, even in this draft and even currently in the NBA. And that's something that he has going for him, and that's a real reason to draft him, just because you can see his upside and you can see the fact that some of this stuff you just can't teach. And if you have the time and the patience and he has the love for the game and the work ethic, maybe you can pick somebody late up in the draft that can be a big difference maker or a solid starter for you in the future, and it may be him. Another thing that's a little disappointing, I wish he can block shots a little bit more. He is quick, he is long with that wingspan. Maybe he should be able to contest and become a better defender. But a lot of people with his size never really become great rim protectors and great defenders, even though they should be, because of their ability and their talent and their body. But that doesn't mean he won't be, but there's also a good chance that he will never, ever get to that point of being an elite level defender or even being a great defender. We really won't know until we see how his body develops and how he reads the game, because most, international players are guys that you draft and they really never come over. They never really live up to the hype, or they never really be worth that pick because they never come over, or they just never translate good enough. So you basically running a big risk of drafting somebody that has a huge chance of being the buzz or never really fitting or figuring it out on an NBA level, or play a couple seasons and realize this is not what they want, and they go and you basically give them up for nothing as they can go back home and sign the contract where they come from. So it's a lot of risk in taking Aleksej because he is a raw prospect. He's an unfinished prospect. Doesn't really does anything that great or at an elite level. But if you want to see what you can get out of him, he is that guy in this draft in that top 25 that has a lot of upside, has a lot of potential, but also could be a real red flag as a bust in the NBA just because he seems like a dragon bender. Some people comparing him or other bigs that show that they can space out the floor, show that they have potential to be solid defenders, show that they can be great complementary players, showing that they can have a lot of upside. But most of these guys, time and time again throughout the drafts, never really become anything special in the NBA, whether they drafted in the top 5, top 10, or the top 30. A lot of those guys either become busts, don't play well, or they out of the league within 2 to 3 years because it didn't work out or a team gave up on them very quickly. So I'm not saying Aleksej going to fail. I'm not saying that he can't become great. I'm not saying that he suck. I'm not saying that he's a guaranteed bust, but he does look like one of those guys that could potentially be high upside, but very, very high risk of being a bust. And we're just going to have to see how it plays out. And we're just going to have to see what he brings to the table and if he can really be a difference maker at the NBA level. And can he really get on the court and bring that consistent shooting, bring that consistent passing. And in the pick and roll, he can hit shooters, he can hit dump offs, high low passing. He can also, get to the basket from time to time because he can score with either hand, and he has the tools to really be a special player in the NBA if he really loves the game and if he puts the work in. But like I said, there's just so many guys that's similar to him that didn't make it and never really transitioned, or their game just wasn't physical enough, or they just couldn't do what they did at the level that they was on because the athletes couldn't cover more space. They're more longer, they're more stronger than they are coming into the league, and they get discouraged and they figure out that it's better where they was before, and the NBA isn't really worth it as a culture change. And also as a guy that played basketball, they can't really get over that hump and that mentality, and teams do quit and give up on players, especially when they're not owed a lot of money or they feel like these guys just don't have it. And a lot of times, like I usually tell you guys, you don't really know until you get that guy in the gym. You don't really know until you get that guy on your team, and you don't really know how his personality is, his work ethic and stuff like it is. You don't know how they is until you really get them inside. And my personal opinion, he looks like that guy that we don't really know. Just to be honest, we don't really know. Just based off how he played overseas, he has really made me question what he can be, what he should be, and what he won't be. And I really can't tell you anything much about him because for what I've seen, he looks like a guy that can be a solid player, and that's not that bad in that range where he getting drafted at. Ain't like you taking him as a lottery pick. It's not like you taking him as a top 5 guy in this draft. You're taking him later in the draft. You're taking him when a lot of guys in that area are either similar or have the same mentality or are a little bit better with higher upside. And the only reason why you're taking a gamble on him is because you feel like you can fix him, you feel like you can mature him, and you feel like you can really make a difference into his basketball career. And that's the biggest reason why you take a guy like Aleksej. But in my personal opinion, I wouldn't draft him. I'm curious on him. I really don't have enough on him. I really haven't seen enough to make me want to draft him. But I also have seen the fact that you can't teach what he has. You can't grow what he has. And that's his biggest strong suit is the fact that he is a physical freak. He does have good touch. He does have good mobility. And he does have huge upside because of those things. But then again, that doesn't mean that it's going to happen, it's going to work. And that doesn't mean that he can ever develop into something more than just a great role player or starter. But it is a chance that he could. We just won't know. And I'm not high on Aleksej. I wouldn't be in a rush to draft him. If he goes in that top 30 or top second round, I would feel happy about that, and I would want to develop him in the G League. Same with Bol, a guy that was long, lanky, and had good touch, but he didn't really pan out, and he didn't even play an NBA game, I believe, so far in his career, just because he's a guy you have to put a lot of effort and energy to develop him if you really want to see the best results from this guy. And that's why it makes sense to take him later in the draft, just because majority of the things he brings to the table and the majority of things he does, he's not doing it at a high enough level, and he hasn't shown it at a high level just yet, meaning that you're going to have to take at least 3 to 4 years to see what you have in him. And will he still be in the league? Will he still want to play in America? And will he really want to play for the team that he goes to, knowing that he might not get a lot of playing time and a lot of opportunity at the NBA level right away? So it's a risk, it's a gamble. Beware. Aleksej is a high upside, high bust potential, and a guy that can really be a great high-end starter if everything works out. But it's a lot of players like him each and every year that doesn't work, or doesn't stay 2 years in the league, or a team just give up on them, or a team just trade them, and then they leave out of the NBA and go back to their home country. And that could happen too, because we don't see that happen. 5, 7 to 10 players each and every year does that in the draft, and he can be one of those guys. So beware if you're interested in him, you think he can be a good piece for you, or you think highly of him. This guy has high bust potential, just to be honest. But other than that, check out my website at awesomeplayground.com. Link in the description, comment section below. Check out my Facebook page at awesomeplayground.com. Link in the description, comment section below. Like on Facebook to show support. Like the video and share. Not only that, if you haven't liked already, please like. And if you did, thanks for the love and support. I also make breakdowns of rookies, legends, and players in the league, so check that out on my channel. I make discussions just like this. I cover trade deadline, free agency. I also cover the NBA draft, the playoff predictions, and I try to make videos every single day to get you guys some content out, and give y'all something to watch and something to be entertained by. I make videos every single day, and you guys been watching, you guys been liking, you guys been enjoying. So we all on the same page, we all having fun, we all enjoying it, and the season is about to start. So if you like the type of videos I do, and if you checked on my older videos, why not subscribe and be part of the family? And like I said in the beginning of the video, I have merchandise on my Spreadshirt, my Facebook page, if you want to support the channel and buy merchandise. Other than that, Quinn Wade, Basketball Analysis, I'm gone.